prioritize self-care in your life and what that looks like for you? Is that something you've always had a handle on, or is that something you've had to grow into through experience?
I think that's really growing into it really with experience, because as you grow up, you're not so really aware of self-care. I think the whole concept of self-care has become very popular, hasn't it? That the word self-care.
Absolutely.
I mean, when I was in my 20s, nobody used the word self-care. It didn't really exist, but how I moved into it by, really understanding how important self-care is for our overall health. And, especially with the clients that I work with, which are perimenopausal, menopausal, and myself, I'm perimenopausal. So really, when I look at self-care and when I talk to clients about it, it's really, establishing boundaries so you can protect the time that you need to look after yourself. Because it's so easy, isn't it? We're all very busy. It seems like everybody's suffering from chronic stress these days. But you have to set time aside for yourself and prioritize yourself and really allow yourself to accept that is okay. And I mean, myself, I can be extremely busy, and you tend to come at the bottom of the list. So what I do now daily, so I have time for self-care, even if it's just 10 minutes, is I actually put it into my schedule. And that seems to work. And I see that working for my clients. If you put it in your schedule, then you actually do, okay, now I've got 15 minutes, I'm going to do what I like doing, whether it's going outside, drinking a cup of tea or whatever. So scheduling me time in your schedule every day. Another key area for me and for menopausal women is to prioritize sleep. I really need sleep. So I go to bed early, and that really is non-negotiable. You really just have to say, okay, I've done what I have to do today. I'm now going to sleep, rather than just aimlessly sitting and watching television, getting locked into a series of whatever on Netflix maybe. Just saying, no, I'm actually going to go to bed, because sleep is crucial for our health. And then, I'm a nutritional therapist, and I could talk about food for hours, but, nourishing my body. I choose to eat nourishing foods that are going to help my body and my overall health. So it's really what you eat is crucial. And that is a part of self-care, really. If you're just grabbing things, maybe foods that aren't so healthy, then, you're not looking after, your own body and your own health. And it's really important coming into menopause, because you need to give your body that little bit of extra care and help because of all the hormonal changes. And engaging in activities that I love. I am quite adventurous. I like trying new things. I like pushing myself to do things that maybe take me a little bit out of my comfort zone. But that, again, in itself helps you learn, and it pushes the boundaries. To exercise and things that make me happy, whether it's just in the kitchen or phoning a friend or just, it's good to be silly. I don't think we laugh enough these days. So just being silly and laughing and having a chat. So that's really what I prioritize.
I love that. I love that laughing piece. And I brought this up before, so my audience that's with me has heard this, but my therapist and my husband's therapist both gave us the assignment of having more fun. Like, y'all need to have more fun. Like, just do something because you want to. It doesn't have to have any other reason behind it besides it sounds fun. I mean, whatever that looks like for you. And I think you're right. We don't take that time to be, and laughter is therapeutic. It's good for us. It does such good for our serotonin levels and, those feel good hormones within us. So I think we can't, miss that one, that kind of simple one of don't be afraid to have a good laugh and be silly. It's good for you. And if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around it, it's good for you. It's healthy for you. It's
It's good to be singing. There's actually I haven't done it yet, but there's a wonderful, it's on my list. There's something called laughing yoga. Where,
oh, wow.
If you look at it, if you go on YouTube and look at, I mean, just watching it is hysterical. And you basically sit in a room, and because of the therapeutic benefits of laughing, everyone sits there in these yoga positions and just laughs. And it's contagious, isn't it, laughing?
It really is. Okay, I'm going to Google that when we get off here. I think that sounds fantastic. I'm laughing thinking about it. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Well, you mentioned boundaries a little bit already, but talk about confidently setting boundaries and the importance of that. And what's your journey been with that? When did you realize that was something that was key for you?
Boundary setting can be tricky. And I really appreciate that it's not easy, is it? Because we all work, we work hard, and we don't. A lot of people, myself, I say yes, not anymore, but I used to say yes to everything. And you just find that your schedule gets so busy, you're working weekends. And because of the stress and the amount that I was working, I really sat down and thought I have to put boundaries in place for my own health. So you really have to kind of have a discussion with yourself and prioritize your own health. Reflect on your values and your priorities, because it is actually okay to say no.
Yeah, it really is. And we've had this conversation with a few other guests, but no period is a sentence. I mean, it really is. And it is empowering to feel like you have some sense of control and choice. I mean, I think that choice comes into that as well. But communicating that, you talked about you didn't always have that. So when you started putting into place, that can be hard for people that are used to operating with you without boundaries. Was that a hard transition? Did you have to kind of over communicate a few times with people regarding that?
Yeah, that is difficult when you are a yes person, and all of a sudden, okay, it doesn't just happen overnight, but people are used to you saying, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll be there. And all of a sudden you say very nicely, well, I'm sorry, but no, I can't do that at the moment. Or, yeah, it's difficult. It feels very alien if you're not used to saying.
Yes.
And even now, I still have to be mindful of that, because that yes side of me can just slip back into place. But I find when I say no, I feel so empowered, and it makes me feel like I've got my power back, my energy back, in a very positive way. Because, of course, when you say no to something, you say it in a very nice way. And, it's not, when you say no, most people are really understanding. It's not a big deal for them. They'll just say, oh, okay, that's fine, maybe next time. There's never I've never had an issue when I've said, oh, no, thank you, or no, that's not a priority at the moment, I can't do that. So don't be afraid to say no. And I think what I found was beneficial for me was to really clearly define your boundaries. Otherwise, they become a bit hazy. Really defining that, for example, on Sundays now, that is my day off. I don't read emails. I don't do social media. I really have that day to spend with family and doing things that I want to do. And again, it's very easy that you slip out of that. But, you really have to set that boundary, and it just makes you feel so rested and rejuvenated when you do take that time away from daily life. And self-awareness, you just really asked me this, Melissa, but seeing how when you go over your boundaries, how that makes you feel, because it doesn't make you feel good. So being aware of that and being mindful of how that makes you feel. And being assertive, which again is difficult. You need to communicate with, being assertive, and that isn't easy either. And consistency as well, consistently having those boundaries.
Right, because that consistency sends the message. She's clear on this. She's not wavering on this. This is truly a boundary. And you said something too. I think sometimes the fear of the no is worse than the no itself and the response that actually happens. And then if you can just kind of get over that hump and continue to be consistent and kindly communicate. If people forget or they're just not used to you, just continue that and be consistent with that, but just getting over that fear.
Yeah. And because it isn't, once you've said no a few times, it actually feels really good.
It does.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask for support, to seek support. Even if you're struggling, it's perfectly okay to ask for help. And what I find as well, initially when I was putting these in place, was really trying to, surround yourself with supportive people. Your people that are behind you and support you with all your decisions. It is very, beneficial as well.
Taking care of our emotional health as much as our physical health. Talk to me about your journey with that. Just in the things that you do with food, you talk about on your website, the connection of food to not only nourishing our bodies and giving us what we need, but what it does for us mentally, emotionally, physically. There's a connection there just in your work with food. But talk to me about your emotional and physical health journey.
Yeah, but when we talk about perimenopause and menopause, there's a lot going on there emotionally.
Yes.
When
I can speak to that.
There's a lot going on there, full stop. But the emotional side of it can be very overwhelming. Perimenopausal women, menopausal women, can actually suffer from depression. Obviously, that's depression, you would need to go to a healthcare provider. But you can find that, and I found myself that mood swings, anxiety, from very level-headed, calm person, you can just find yourself for no apparent reason getting very worked up or very anxious over something ridiculous. And it's all, due to hormones. The estrogen and progesterone have a huge impact on our emotional well-being. But what I do for myself and what I recommend for clients, I work very individually with clients, so obviously everyone's different. But just as you said, Melissa, food is a key aspect. What are you actually putting into your body? There's so much research now in saying that all these processed, refined foods that are very high in sugar and damaged fats really affect how we feel emotionally. They cause inflammation in the body. They affect the microbiome, which is our gut bacteria, which now has been shown in research to be connected to how we feel. It affects the brain. So it's so important to eat healthily. And I really appreciate that it's not easy in today's society with, we're living in a very, what I like to call a toxic food environment. There's food everywhere, but it's not necessarily nourishing whole food. So, if you only do one thing, just really try to reduce the amount of processed food that you eat. Just eat whole foods, eat food that doesn't come in a packet with 30 different ingredients. Buy vegetables, buy fruit, buy, if you eat meat, buy meat or protein sources, soya, tofu, etc. if you don't eat meat. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's very we're used to just grabbing packages of food. But just whole food and try cooking at home. That is going to be so beneficial for your emotional and your overall health. Because it's a tricky time, perimenopause, and we need to look after our bodies and give them that little bit extra care. So eating in balance as well. So protein, healthy fats, whole grain carbohydrates. You should really try to eat, a balanced plate. So having all these nutrients in every meal is very important for blood sugar balance and the hormones in balance and making us feel emotionally stable. And that's the nutritional side of emotional health. But I think it's very good to acknowledge as well how you're feeling. I know for me, coming into perimenopause, I did feel a change in my emotional health. And I've always, like I said, been a very kind of happy-go-lucky, stable, but had very good emotional well-being. But it's definitely changed going into perimenopause. And I think acknowledging that is the first step to know what's actually happening, and being compassionate with yourself. Don't get angry and say, oh, what's going on? Why am I feeling like this? Practice self-compassion and be kind to yourself and gentle and do, like we were saying, self-care, and look after yourself. And I mean, the best thing, and one of the wonderful therapeutic things that I find works for emotional health is talking to girlfriends, having a girls' evening and just talking about how you feel. And it's great because you can just get it all out, can't you? And you feel so much better when you've had a chat.
You do. And you find, and when you start talking about these things, because I told you before we started, and I've talked about this before, I didn't even know what perimenopause was. I'd never heard the word. No one had ever said it to me until I was like already down the road. And once you start talking about your symptoms and how you're feeling with your friends, you're like, yeah, me too. It takes away, I think, the feelings of isolation that sometimes can come in when all of a sudden you're having these depressed feelings or anxious feelings. You're like, who am I? Where did this come from? And you start talking about it with people and start feeling less alone. And I think too, you can help each other. If someone's gone through something before, you're like, ask about this or try this. You can start talking about what you're doing, what you're trying, and how that can support and help each other too. I think that's really important.
Yeah, girlfriends are so important. Really having that network of women that support you is crucial. Because like you say, you can really just say, oh, how are you feeling? Oh, yes, I'm having hot flashes as well, or I'm put weight on around the middle. And you can laugh about it, can't you? You can, have a joke and maybe have a glass of wine and just have an evening. That, to me, that is so beneficial for emotional well-being. Having relationship with people and being able to talk about it, and really surrounding yourself with uplifting people. I'm very sensitive to negative people, and they're not good for my emotional well-being. And I think, you choose your friends in life, don't you? Okay, you can't choose everyone, maybe colleagues or whatever you work with, but people that you spend time with, choose people that uplift you and are positive, because that can, really knock your emotional well-being if you're surrounded by people that are very negative all the time. I find that personally myself. And again, seek support if needed. If you're really suffering, it's okay to reach out and ask for help. It's absolutely okay. And, you should do that. And gratitude, well, I think practicing gratitude is very important. Being grateful for what you've got in your life is crucial, really, to help you, realise that life is actually great, and I'm really happy and grateful for everything that I've got. A lot of clients of mine find it very useful to do like a journal. You don't have to write loads, but just every evening or every morning, just write a few things down in there that you're grateful for. Whether you've got a fantastic husband, or you've got a lovely house, or you've got a great job. It could be anything. But that is really, really beneficial for our emotional well-being.
Yeah, I started to practice a few years ago. And I've talked about this before, where every day, and this helps me know what I need self-care wise. It helps me see where I'm at emotionally and physically that day, what boundaries I need to set, all those things. As I write down, it's just, how am I feeling? I write down all my emotions, and then that allows me to process through what I need to process through. I can see what kind of self-care is going to be beneficial. Maybe I need a rigorous workout to work out some stress, or maybe I just need some yoga to stretch my body and get myself feeling a little loose and more relaxed. Maybe I, whatever it is, maybe I just need to have some quiet time, some meditation, some, figuring that out. And then that allows me to get to the gratitude. because I haven't just forced all these other things to the side. And, I'm grateful for the time I have to do that. I'm grateful that I can name those things and identify what I have as resources to use to help me process through all the other stuff. And so I think, that's really powerful. To name things and be able to see where you are. And then within that, even if you're not feeling, maybe you're not feeling grateful that day, but if you take that time to start writing down how you're feeling, you can find gratitude within that. You can find gratitude for the process, gratitude for the tools, resources, wherever it is. And that is empowering and makes you feel like you have a choice within what you're choosing or doing in your life, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also writing things down, that has an effect.
Yeah.
Rather than just thinking about something, it really is, another example is if you're feeling really upset, like you were saying about emotion, just write down how you're feeling. That actually helps to release that emotion. So writing is quite powerful.
Yeah. And it's like you said earlier, acknowledging, you talked about, when you get into perimenopause, and can be true for anything in life, but you start feeling, all of a sudden you start feeling these emotions. We are so hard on ourselves. We expect ourselves to show up 100% all the time for everyone, but we don't ask that of anybody else most of the time. Or maybe we do. And we're like, wait a minute. That's not reasonable for anybody. and when you can show yourself that, that empathy and give yourself that grace, it allows you to extend that to other people as well. I think they're all connected in that way. But I think those are really important. There's power in writing. I also sometimes, if I'm really struggling, I will say it out loud as I'm writing it. And that gives me just another reinforcement. How can we support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically? You do this really well with your work. I mean, your work is to help women feel like themselves again. If they're feeling off kilter, you can look at your website, you can see the people that you've helped, giving feedback on that. So talk to me about your journey within that.
Yeah, living unapologetic, I think that's let's think about it, because that's actually a great question. It's not something you hear a lot, is it? Unapologetically, it really makes you think, because we're in a culture where we apologize all the time, don't we? And I think women especially, we're always saying, especially being British people apologize for everything.
Isn't that interesting how it so culturally can come into play?
Yeah, I think it must be, because we apologise all the time. But really, when we think about it, for what? We don't need to apologise. So, I think as far as women go, we're very strong. We really need to foster a culture of empowerment. That we're here. We need to have self-acceptance and support each other. And then when I work with clients, I'm there to support them. I'm there for them 100%, because it's very difficult to put changes in place. If you're working with me and we develop a program that's going to help your menopausal health, that's all very well, but actually doing it is the hardest part. Breaking habits, making new habits, that's really where you need the support. But when you've done that, it's very empowering, because you've done it, and I feel so much better. So if you do a habit that makes you feel better, you're more likely to carry on doing it because of the way. But I feel in myself that I've developed more of an unapologetic way to life, an approach to life, whereas I don't feel that I need to apologise anymore. But maybe that's also an age thing. I think as you become older, you don't care so much about what people think, do you? And it's actually one of the
it's very freeing when you can release that.
Yeah, so I don't feel the need to apologise anymore. Okay, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
If you do something, there's nothing wrong with apologising, but I won't just apologise for apologise sake.
Right, exactly.
And it's really about self-confidence, isn't it? Celebrating you and who you are, because we're all very individual. And there's so much social expectations as well, isn't there, in society about how you should be, how you should look, what you should say, etc. And, it's just rising above that and being yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people see you doing that, it empowers them to do it too, because they see, you seem very content, at peace with yourself, happy. I see you laughing. What are you doing? I want to do that too. And come along on the ride for me. Let's go. I think there's a lot of empowerment within that of just living the way you do. By living that way, it automatically kind of gives permission for people to ask and come along with you on that journey.
It's leading by example, isn't it, really?
It really is. It really is. Talk to me about coming back to your why and your values and everything you do. It seems, have you always kind of known, or was there a turning point for you?
I mean, my journey in the health and wellness industry actually started when I was very young. And I think when I was a teenager, and the trigger for me was that I had acne when I was a teenager. And I mean, being
me too.
A teenager, it's difficult enough, isn't it, without suddenly developing skin issues. And that was really where I started. Even as a teenager, I started thinking, I don't actually want to be taking lots of medication. There must be something else I can do. And that's when I started looking at nutrition, lifestyle, alternative, more the holistic route to helping my skin. And it really did help. And that's kind of what led me. I actually initially started my career as an esthetician, specializing in women's hormonal skin. And that led me into perimenopause, menopause, because, unfortunately, when you come into menopause, you can suddenly develop acne again. You can. Yeah. Which is, they're calling it, it's like menopause is also called like a second adolescence.
Yeah. I thought we already did this.
So that was really what led me into the health and wellness industry. And then I very soon became to understand that, aesthetic treatments are wonderful, but you also need to work on the inside. And that's when I went back and studied nutritional science. And I think, my whys and my values, I've always had a very strong foundation of wanting to help people. I get great pleasure out of making people feel better. It's as simple as that. And having that sense of purpose, especially with women in perimenopause and menopause that are really suffering, and being able to use nutrition, lifestyle and mindset to turn their lives around. And they go away saying, you've changed my life. I feel so much better. That's really what gives me the motivation and the drive. It's more, I suppose, with what I've experienced in life as well, with my perimenopausal journey, that's also motivated me even more to want to help women, because I've seen how nutrition and lifestyle can really help. So I have this ambition to spread the knowledge of menopause around the world, because as we were talking earlier, Melissa, it's something that's not spoke about enough.
No.
We really
no.
In Europe, especially in the United Kingdom, there is a little bit of a menopause revolution going on at the moment. Women have just had enough, and there's been a lot of documentaries with celebrities, and you can just see how it's exploded. But that isn't the case in many, many countries. We do not talk about it enough, and a lot of women are suffering unnecessarily.
Yeah, we're starting to see that a little bit in the United States too. There have been a few, docuseries on some of the streaming apps and places where it's coming up more, and a little bit on social media. But still, it's that thing where we have to start it with, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to have this conversation. We're going to say these words, and we're not going to apologize for it. And and take the stigma off of it. Because it's like we talked about earlier, it's dangerous and it's costing us our health by not having these conversations and getting on these things early. And so, for those of you that are younger listening, don't be afraid to ask the questions and the definitions. It's not too early to get on these habits. Don't wait until you're in a state of being in your, early to mid 40s to start this journey. Start it now. Start it, get on it early, make it a priority now. And then not that you won't notice anything. Everybody is different and everybody has to make and adjust accordingly, but you're going to give yourself a leg up by being really purposeful and intentional about this in your 20s and 30s.
Because menopause, as we know, every woman will go through menopause. It's a totally natural process, but suffering isn't. And menopause is women, we're living so much longer. You could be after you've gone through menopause, you're in post-menopause, which is the end of your life. You can be 30 plus years. So it's it's many, many years where you should be thriving and having a wonderful time.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a good point. Yeah, really, really important to remember. We want to feel good. We don't want to just be. We want to thrive, and we can. I think we have to take the stigma off of age too.
Yeah,
you can feel as well as you decide to put into yourself and make yourself a priority, and you're worthy of that. So make the most of this time in these years that you're given. Because speaking of gratitude, those are a gift. Yeah. So make the most of them, and you want to feel well when you're doing it. You touched on this a little bit earlier. We're going to get into a little bit more. Living out of your own expectations versus others. There's so many expectations put on women in the world, and I think this is true for the most part around the world. So, and you have to get to a point at some point in your life where you're like, am I living out of my own or am I living out of others? And how do I communicate that in a way, or how do I even know that? Can I even name if what I'm doing is aligned with me versus what someone else expects of me? And I think we all have to hit a point in life where we delineate that and make that decision. So talk to me about your expectations journey.
Yeah, it's very easy, isn't it, to compare yourself to other people.
Yes. And so dangerous.
Yeah, it's so dangerous because we're all unique, aren't we? You shouldn't anybody,
right?
And especially, I think with the world of social media, it becomes even more difficult because you can think, that people portray this perfect life, don't they, on social media?
Yes.
Really, realistically, life has its ups and downs, and that's what makes it so exciting. But I think for me, I really embrace my own strengths. Finding out what your own strengths are, and you are unique. Everyone, all of us are unique, and really working with those strengths and using those to your benefit, because we all have different strengths, which is great. We've all got different qualities, and also accepting, your vulnerabilities, accepting the things that maybe make you vulnerable, and allowing yourself to feel like that and accept, vulnerability, because we can't be strong all the time.
No, we'll wear ourselves out. It's not realistic.
No, we're complex, aren't we? There's a lot of different layers and feelings that we have. So I think allowing yourself to realise that you're not going to be strong every day. You might feel bad some days, but that's okay. That's all right. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much into embracing growth and change. I think, allowing yourself to grow and allowing yourself to change in a way that makes you happy. You don't have to stay the same. We all change. If you think how, in 10 years' time, we change and we grow, we do different things, and we maybe feel differently about certain things. So growth is a big thing for me, allowing myself to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you always felt that way? Did you ever feel like you were at a point where you weren't living out of your own expectations, or were you able to always kind of have a handle on that?
No, I think when I was younger, going back to comparing yourself and looking at other people and think, I should be doing that. So, again, I think that's something that comes with age. And I know before I went back to university and studied nutritional therapy, I think maybe I wasn't as focused on that. I could get swayed off into, not being true to myself, doing things maybe that I didn't necessarily really want to do, but I kind of just did them because that's what you did, and that's what other people, you wanted other people to portray you doing.
Sure. Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah. But there's such freedom when you finally get down to it, I think. But yeah, I think it does come with experience and time, and environment and culture, and just getting to a point where you're like, no, I've got to be in alignment with myself, or I'm just, not going to be content. And we're all made, you said it earlier, we're all made uniquely. We all have gifts to give. And if we're not living out of those gifts and those strengths, then the world is missing out on that, because there's nobody else like us in the world to show up that way. So I think there's a lot of, remembering that, empowering that too. You've talked about this already, and you do it really well, accepting the layered aspects of ourselves, accepting all those parts. You talked about it earlier with emotions and giving yourself grace and empathy. And, just when we were talking about expectations, talking about accepting your vulnerabilities and knowing what your strengths are. Have you always been pretty, I think steadfast in being able to accept all those layers about yourself, or is that something you've learned?
No, I think that's something I've learned along life's jolly trail, really. Especially again going back to when you're younger. No, that is certainly something that I've worked on over the years, to really accept myself and realize that I do have strength and I am quite good at some things and maybe not at others, which is fine. We're all individual. Yeah. But that isn't something that I've always been very, self-confident about. I was actually, when I was a child, I was actually quite shy. But then that kind of, I developed when I came into my teenage years. And I think having acne as a teenager, when you start quite self-confident, awareness is, you're very aware what other people think of you when you're a teenager. And then you get acne, and then you're a bit shy on top of that. It's not a good combination.
That can be really difficult.
Yeah. So it's something that I've worked on throughout the years, but it's about knowledge and accepting yourself. But I think it's a journey, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. Did you have a clear turning point, or was it just over time and experience that you realized the value in it?
I think really, to be truthful, it was time and experience. There wasn't one particular event or time that I turned, to think that. I think it was just experience and things that happen in life. And I've traveled a lot, experienced different cultures. It makes you grow as a person. And you change so much really over the years, don't you? And I think that's what makes life so exciting, that you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah, so true. I think you brought such great things about learning and growth. I one of the probably my greatest attributes that I have grown into the last 10 years is that I continue to be a learner. I understand that I don't and will never know everything, and that there are things that I believe and stand on today that are going to change over time as I learn more, learn better, learn differently, just have experiences that inform. But I think you talked about travel. If you can travel, and this is not something that everybody's able to do, but if you can, it's really valuable in terms of seeing other people's lived experiences, other cultures. It just informs you better on how to show up in the world as your best self, showing up, supporting other people, knowing there's more than one way to do things. I think there's a lot of power in that. And I think that in turn helps us to understand our layers and the complexities and accepting all those things and understanding all those things. Has that been true for you?
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. I think traveling is just wonderful. It just really opens your mind to see how other people live, different cultures, different, everything, food that you eat, the way people live. It gives you more resilience, definitely.
Yeah.
I live in Sweden at the moment. I've learned the language when I moved here. It's all this learning curve. I'm very much like you, Melissa. I love learning. It's that lifelong learning journey. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to do all the learning I
know.
do. But it just, there's so many things that I want to learn. It's never ending.
Yeah, no, that's really true. That's really true. And I think that gives you a different understanding, of all of our layers and all of our complexities, and accepting, embracing all of those and our individualities within that too, and the effect that has. So good stuff there. In living out feel, finding empowerment, embracing layers, how does that affect the quality of your relationship with yourself as well as with others?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of relationships for me, again, going back to age, is that my relationships and the quality of my relationships with people has really grown and developed over the years. And I think that the relationships that you have, or I've had for many years with friends, etc., has really grown and developed over the years. And, you have your core group of people, the core friends that you've had for many, many years, and they should be cherished because they know you. They've grown up with you. They know your little traits. And other people come and go in your life, don't they? People come and go for a reason. I do very much believe that. But I'm an extremely loyal person to my friends because I really value friendship. And for me, I need that. I need to know that I've got friends there supporting me. I find that's very important for emotional well-being. And how you feel, and to have fun with and enjoy life and do things with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just really comforting to have that person that knows all your layers, all your pieces, all the things that make you who you are. You can go to them with anything. They'll show up for you. You'll show up for them. I think there's a lot of comfort and contentment and empowerment within that, knowing you've got those people that get you.
Yeah, you can really be your true self, can't you?
Yes.
You can turn up, doesn't matter what you look like, you can say what you want, no one's going to judge you.
Yeah. So much freedom. And just the effect we've talked about earlier, the fact that has on people supporting you in your journey, in your self-care journey, your emotional, mental, physical health journey, transitions that you go through, all those things, having that stability makes a big difference. We're down to the rapid fire.
Ooh.
Name 5 activities that nourish you.
Meditation, nourishing foods, learning, as we were talking about earlier, walking in nature. What's that? 4. And dancing to loud music in the kitchen.
Oh, I love that. That's a great one. And no wonder you like cooking so much. Since you're dancing around to loud music. There you go. Oh my gosh, maybe that's what I need to add. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Energized, fulfilled, connected, joyful, and healthy.
Really good. Really good. Okay, Alison, so talk to us a little bit about where people can find you. And don't worry, audience, this will all be in our sources. So if you're driving down the freeway, you don't need to stop and write down any notes. You'll have this access on our website at embracinglayers.com. But talk to us about where we can find you and the things that you offer.
The best place, I think, really is to go to my website, which is alisonbladh.com. On the website, I have many different resources, free ebook downloads with all different sorts of menopausal, if you want to improve your skin or your hair or you want to lose weight, all of those things. There's different ebooks for that, which give you recipe ideas and a meal plan. And then all my social media links, you can actually find on my website. I'm on virtually all social media. So, feel free to look on there, because I post a lot of different recipes and information about perimenopause and menopause. And if anyone wants any more information, please feel free to email me. My contacts are all on the website there.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And the blogs too, your blogs have great information in them, just different steps. You've got a whole 5-step process to help people. And there's different levels. Like you can come in at different levels depending on what you feel like you need. You can do like a 20-minute consultation call with you to find out if it's a good fit. I mean, there's all kinds of resources available. But what I love is that you've lived this, this, and you do such a great job of combining your scientific knowledge with your lived experience. And it comes through just so authentically and well-informed, and just your desire to help women comes through so clearly in your work and what you do. And I've been following you for, since we met, and just getting the glimpse of that. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your journey with us today and having this conversation. Again, go to embracinglayers.com, check out the sources page. All these things from Alison will be there. Alison is Alison. Bladh is Bladh, in case you want to get on there right now and check out the AlisonBladh.com and not wait for the sources page to look at. But Alison, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, podcast audience, take care of yourselves. Start early, start in your 20s. Pay attention to how you're fueling your body, the people you're surrounding yourself with. Taking that time for yourself. Be kind, be gentle with yourself, and have a great week.